This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good morning, Rabbi. We're learning Sefer Ezra, Perek Daled, Pasuk Daled. We're learning Shabbat, L'Zeicha Nishmas, David Hornstein, Reb David Alter Ben Chaim, Sham Shavan Aliyah, Shvi Me'el Yosher, for the whole Mishpacha, Adbiyas Gal Tzedek. Before we begin, I just want to tell you one brief thing that I heard this at Asim Hashas. It wasn't this past one. It could have been either 2 or 3 times before from the Novominsker Rebbe. You know, I went to the car this morning. It was cold this morning. I think it said 4 degrees. 4 degrees. So, Baruch Hashem, we're warming ourselves.
It's now up to 5.
It's up to 5, huh? Yeah. So we're warming ourselves by the light of the Torah. It's very interesting. We say every morning in davening in Perek Kuf Mem Zayin, we say Hanoisin Shalak Hatzamer. Hashem sends the snow down like wool. Kefar Ka'efar Yifazer. He scatters the frost like ashes. Mashlich Karchoy Chafitim. He throws his ice like crumbs. Lefnei karasai mi yamoid. Before the cold of Hashem, who could stand up? Right? That's what you think this morning. Before God's cold, who could withstand it? But if you look at the end of the parak, right after that it says, Magid Rav Yaakov. He teaches his word to Klal Yisrael. Chukav u'mishpatav l'Yisrael. He teaches the Torah to Klal Yisrael. Lo yasachein l'choga. He doesn't do that to every nation. So the Novominsker Rebbe pointed out very beautifully, what's the connection between the ice and the snow and the cold and so you, first of all, physically, when it's really cold outside, nothing better than to go inside and to warm yourself by Magid Varav Yaakov, by the light of the Torah. And beyond that, we live in a very cold, dark world. Right? There's nothing out there. There's nothing. It's all Havel Havolim. Everything that everybody's running after and clamoring and getting excited about, it's nothing. It's worse than nothing. Halavai, it should only be nothing. And everyone's running after it. But Baruch Hashem, the Rebbe Shalom gave us, we don't have to live in this cold world. We live in a world full of meaning, of Magid Rav Yaakov. Okay, so let's see Sefer Ezra, Perek Daled, Pasuk Daled. We're talking about how the Samaritans, the Kutim that were displaced by Asnapir, by Sancheirav, and they're placed in the Shomron. They're trying to interfere with the reconstruction of the Beis Hamikdash. So Pasuk Daled, it says, "Vahi am haaretz merapim midei am Yehuda." The people of the land were causing a slackening in the efforts of the Jews of Yehuda. Umevalim oisam livnos. They were confounding them, confusing them to build. They even hired advisors to nullify their plans. Kol Yemei Koresh Melech Paras, for the entire duration of Koresh, the king of Paras, V'ad Malchus Daryavesh Melech Paras, until the kingdom of Daryavesh the Persian. Now let's just get this straight. Again, Nebuchadnezzar is the first king of Babylonia, first king of Bavel. He's followed by Evel Meradach, who's followed by Belshazzar. Okay, that was Sefer Daniel. Then comes Koresh, and Koresh was the one who gave permission in the beginning of Ezra for the Jews to return and rebuild the Beis Hamikdash. Koresh is followed by... Excuse me, we skipped somebody very important. Right before Koresh is Darius, right? Nebuchadnezzar, Evel Meradach, Belshazzar, and Daryavesh, number 1. Daryavesh the Median. Okay? Daryavesh. Daryavesh is followed by Koresh. Koresh gives Rishus to rebuild the temple. And what we're learning now in Pasuk Hey is that the Samaritans are sending letters, sending word to Koresh to interfere with the reconstruction of the Beis Hamikdash. Koresh is followed by our good friend Achashverosh. And Achashverosh is followed by his son, Daryavesh the Persian, the son of Esther. Okay, so what this pasuk is saying, from Koresh all the way through Achashverosh and Daryavesh, the Beis Hamikdash was put to a halt. Look in pasuk Vav. Over Malchus Achashverosh, and during the kingdom of Achashverosh, Beschilas Malchusai, in the beginning of his reign, Kasvu Sitna, they wrote an accusation, Al Yoshvei Yehuda, on the residents of Yehuda, Yerushalayim. Now, in other words, not only were there accusations written in the times of Koresh, there were also accusations during the duration of the next king of Achashverosh. In fact, the Gemara Masechet Megillah on Daf Yud Aleph writes that Achashverosh was a co-conspirator with these accusations. Now, who wrote these accusations? They were written, we're going to see, by the son of Haman, by Shimi, the son of Haman. Okay.
What did they write?
They wrote that this is not a good idea for the Persians to allow the Jews to build their temple. The Jews are doing this as a manner of rebellion. They're going to consolidate their power, and they're going to use the temple as a bastion to be able to rebel. Okay, so this is the beginning of the, look in Pasuk Vav, Uvamachas Achashverosh, in the beginning of his Malchus, they wrote this sitna. Take a look at Rashi. Rashi says, and during the kingdom of Achashverosh, who ruled after Koresh, they wrote a sitna, they wrote an accusation not to build the Beis HaMikdash. Okay. And Rashi says, what kind of accusation? Lahalshinam, lakantaram, an accusation to undermine them, to question their intentions. Okay. Uvimei Artachshasta. In the days of Artachshasta. Oh. Now, Rabbi say, let us welcome Artachshasta. Who is Artachshasta? Artachshasta is Koresh.
Why did they call him Artachshasta?
Why did they call him that? Take a look at Rashi. Uvermei Artachshasta, hu Koresh melech Paras. Says Rashi, Minyan oisya shel Koresh, oila la minyan oisya is Daryavesh. Now to get things even more confusing, we know that Daryavesh the Mede preceded Koresh. We know Daryavesh the Persian succeeded Achashverosh, and there was someone in between, Koresh. But Koresh had another name. You know what his other name was? Also Daryavesh. So how many Daryaveshes were there? 3. There's Daryavesh the Mede, there's Daryavesh the Persian, and then there's Koresh, whose name was Daryavesh. How did we know that? Because the gematria of Koresh is Daryavesh. Why is he called Koresh? Because he was a Melech Kasher. And he had a third name. You know what his third name was? Artachshasta. His third name was Artachshasta. Says Rashi, V'chein shaninu b'mesechus Rosh Hashanah, hu Koresh, hu Daryavesh, hu Artachshasta. Koresh al Shem Shemelech Kasher Haya. He's called Koresh because he was a good king. Artachshasta al Shem Hamalchus. Artachshasta was his royal name. Now, Rabbi say, so now, in the days of Artachshasta, who Rashi says is Koresh, Kasav Bishlam, they wrote, Rashi says, Mechtava, Kasav Mechtava B'dvarim Shel Shalom, they wrote words of peace. Who wrote words of peace? Misredas Tavel. Misredas Tavel wrote words of peace. Ushar Kenaisav, along with the rest of his companions, they wrote words of peace al Artachshasta. Not about Artachshasta, Rashi says. Al in this case means el, to Artachshasta. He wrote al Artachshasta, he wrote words of peace to Artachshasta Melech Paras. Uchisav Hanishtivan, and the writing of the letter, Kosov Aramas, was with Aramaic letters, Umesurgan Aramas, and in Aramaic language. We know you could write English letters, but you're writing Hebrew. In other words, you could write Vayehi Bimei Achashverosh. V-A-Y-I-H-I. So I'm writing in English letters, I'm writing Hebrew.
Transliteration.
Right? Transliteration. Or I could write Hebrew letters, English. I could write and, Aleph Nun Daled, it, Aleph Taf, Vaz, Vav Vav. So just because you're using a certain type of letter doesn't mean you're using the language. Just because you're using a language doesn't mean the letter. So we're writing over here, the pasuk says, it was written in Aramaic language, and Aramaic letters, and Aramaic language. In other words, the text of the letter was Aramaic script, and in the Aramaic language. Now what does the word mean? So let's get clear how Rashi is learning. Rashi is learning that in the days of Artach Shasta, who's Artach Shasta? Koresh. They wrote a letter of peace. Who wrote the letter of peace? Misradas Tavel, together with all his other cohorts. And they wrote not about Artach Shasta, Rashi says, El Artach Shasta, to Artach Shasta. And the Uchsav HaNishtavan, this is a very important word. A Jew has to be familiar with this pasuk. Uchsav HaNishtavan, the text, Rashi says, of the Igeres, of the letter, was Aramaic Oisios, and it was explained into Aramaic. Now, Rabbi, we have a little problem over here. And the problem is, who is Artach Shasta according to Rashi?
Koresh.
Koresh. Who came first? Koresh? Or, you want to maybe lower it a little? You want to lower? Yeah, maybe not blowing. Keep the... Yeah, so who is Artach Shasta? Koresh. Who came first, Achashverosh or Koresh? Koresh. But Pasuk Vav is talking about Achashverosh, and then Pasuk Zayin is going back and talking about Koresh. It's out of order. We're talking about the various accusations that were written against the Jews. So why in Vav do we talk about the times of Achashverosh? And then in Zayin we talk about Koresh. Koresh is before Achashverosh. So according to Rashi, you have to learn the following. That Pasuk Dalet, Hey, and Vav is giving you the general history of the various accusations that were written in the times of Koresh, the times of Achashverosh, and now Pasuk Zayin is going back and describing the accusations that occurred during the times of Koresh. But not everybody learns this way. Who does not learn this way? The Ibn Ezra, the Rabbi, and Rabbi Shaya Mitrani. Take a look at the Ibn Ezra.
What pasuk?
This pasuk. Look at the Rabbi. That the Rabbi learns Artach Shasta is Achashverosh. What advantage does this explanation of the Rabbi have? A very big advantage, because then you don't have to say the psukim are skipping or going back. In other words, Pasuk Vav was talking about the Malchus of Achashverosh. Pasuk Zayin is explaining what accusation did they write in the times of Achashverosh. According to the Rabbi, we're not talking about Koresh here, we're talking about back to Achashverosh. Okay? So this is the meaning of the Pasuk Uchsav HaNishtavan. Rashi learns Nishtavan is what? The letter. The Mitzudas David says Nishtavan means it's equal or explicit. If you look in the Ibn Ezra, Nishtavan. What's the root of Nishtavan? Shaveh. What does Shaveh mean? Equal. In other words, the script and the language were equal. It was a Aramaic script and Aramaic language. Now, Rabbi say, if you look in Shas, in Sanhedrin, Chaf Aleph Amud Beis, Chaf Beis Amud Aleph, the Shas gives an entirely different explanation. And that is like this. If you ever went to a museum in Israel or elsewhere, and you saw coins, ancient Hebrew coins, and there may be inscriptions on it, and you look at the font, you look at the script, and you say, that's not the script that it says in our Sefer Torah, that's not the script that we have in our Chumash. What language is that? And they'll say, that is called Ksav Ivri, the ancient Hebraic script. And there is an opinion in the Gemara. The Gemara says that originally the Torah was written in that script, and it was changed in the days of Ezra to the script that we use. Ksav Ashuris. In other words, the Sifrei Torah, there's a Gemara says, didn't look like our Sifrei Torah. They're written in a different font. And Ezra changed it. How do I know? Ksav HaNishtavan. Nishtavan means changed. In other words, this letter that was written in the days of our Tafshasta, written by Mithras, what was the script? The newly changed script of Ashuris. So why does it supposed to say Aramis? Aramis and Ashuris are very similar.
How did Ezra have the right to translate the Sefer Torah from what Moshe wrote to?
Why did Ezra change it?
Gave him the right to change it.
Why
did he change? What gave him the right to change it? How's he allowed to change it? The Rambam says, Torah zu lo tei mochlefes. You can't make innovations and changes in the Torah. But nevertheless, the Gemara brings an opinion that Ezra changed it. That's the meaning of Ksav HaNishtavan. Now, what do we do? I'm gonna get back to that. What do we do with the fact that it says Ksav Aramis? So he brings down over here that the Yefei Mara on the Yushalmi says that the Arameans were absorbed into the Assyrian Babylonian people. So the Assyrian script and the Aramaic symbols, they were identical. But again, the question is, what gave Ezra the right to change it? The answer is Ezra looked into the pasuk, and Moshe Rabbeinu was told, "Ksav es Mishnah HaTorah Hazois." Write down Mishnah Torah. You know what Mishnah means? It will be changed. Ezra saw that Hashem was telling Moshe that the Torah I'm giving you will one day be changed. And it was changed through Ruach HaKodesh B'Nevuah. In fact, take a look in Masechta Sanhedrin. Rashi brings down on the Chaf Beis Amud Aleph this opinion that Uksav HaNishtavan Kasav Aramis Maturgam Aramis Uksiv Loi Kehalin Kisva Lemikro Pishra Loidel Malka Ukaviksiv B'Kasav Es Mishnah HaTorah Hazois Ksav Haroi L'Hishtanois. Says Rashi, listen to this. Ramaz Lanu Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu was hinting to us Sheksav Shabiyamav, that the font, the script in his days, Asad L'Hishtanis Min Ivri L'Ashuris, will be changed from the ancient Hebrew script to the Assyrian script. Shenasana B'mei Daniel. Uba Ezra B'Kasava Yisatara B'Ksav Ashuris. An amazing thing. And this is what archaeologists and scholars would like you to believe. That what I just told you. That the Torah was originally given in Ksav Ivris, and it was changed in the days of Ezra. Now, there certainly is an opinion like that. The Gemara in Sanhedrin brings down this opinion, that that's the meaning of this pasuk, Ksav HaNishtavan, the Ksav that was changed, and that's the meaning of Mishnah Torah, a Ksav that will be changed. However, there is another opinion in Sanhedrin, and that opinion is Moshe Rabbeinu was given the Torah B'Ksav Ashuris, and it was always B'Ksav Ashuris. And you know what the proof is? We have many Gemaras that say, the Gemara in Shabbos says, the Mem and the Samach and the Luchais B'neis hayu oimdim. They stood miraculously. What was miraculous about the Mem and the Samach? Because if you try to engrave the letter Mem and the letter Samach in stone, what does a Samach look like? Or a Mem? It's a round circle. A round circle, what, it's just as an empty circle in the Luchais? No, there had to be a middle. Right? If you try to engrave in a mass, if you try to engrave in a piece of stone, a Mem or a Samach, then the middle part of the Mem or the Samach will have to be suspended in midair. Says the Gemara Taka, the Mem and the Samach and the Luchais stood miraculously. They stood miraculously. But if the Torah was given in Ksav Ivri, the Mem and the Samach don't look like our Mem and the Samach. There is no middle piece in the Mem and the Samach and the Ksavith. So that's a raya that the Torah was given b'Ksav Ashuris. So how do we paskin? Do we paskin like the opinion in the Gemara in Masechta Sanhedrin, Ksav HaNishtavan, that it was given in Ivris and switched, as the pasuk implies, Mishnah Torah? Says Rabbeinu Chananel in Masechta Sanhedrin. Says Rabbeinu Chananel, V'loi v'yein halacha k'marukva da'akaima k'tanoi v'loi k'Rab Yosi elakaima lon kach sheksav zeh nitin l'Moshe b'Sinai. We hold that Ksav Ashuris was given to Moshe Rabbeinu on Har Sinai k'damrinon mem v'samach shebeluchas b'nei sayu amim. V'yein halacha k'moisoi shenishtana. We don't paskin that it was changed. So even though you go to museums and they'll show you coins with the ancient Hebraic script, shkayach. You know why? Because they used the ancient Hebraic script for coins. They used Ksav Ashuris for Kodesh and they used Ksav Ivris for Chayil. So they'll find you a document. Now it may have been, and I believe the Ritva Masechet Megillah says on Daf Beis, there is also an opinion that the Torah was given b'Ksav Ashuris, but the personal Sifrei Torah of individuals were written in Ksav Ivris. But be it as it may, the Rabbeinu Chananel seems to be saying that we don't paskin it ever changed. That all Sifrei Torah, they were written in Ksav Ashuris. In the museum you'll find a Sefer Torah in Ksav Ivris. Why do you think you found it? They found it because it was buried. It wasn't used. It wasn't used as a holy document. And that is why you look in the Mefarshim and Ezra over here on this pasuk, none of them bring down the pshat that Ksav HaNishtavan means that it was changed. Why? Because they probably hold like Rabbeinu Chananel that we don't paskin that way, and therefore they do not explain the pasuk this way. Okay.
The Dead Sea Scrolls may have some impact on this also. The Dead Sea Scrolls, as you know, were written in Ivrit. So, I don't know the exact years that they say they found them, but they kind of use that as a proof of some sort that the language written, used at that time, was Ivrit. Although those Dead Sea Scrolls may be secular, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah, right. The fact that you can find documents in Ksav Ivris does not mean that traditional Sifrei Torah were not written in Ksav Ashuris.
Yeah.
Okay. Now,
I had another thing. I'm a little confused. You said that the group in the Samaritans were complaining that the Jews were making rebellion. Basically, rebellion. But and you said, I think, that was done, and that they related that to Achashverosh.
Mm-hmm.
But Achashverosh didn't go to Eretz Israel to rebuild the temple? Were the Jews in Eretz Israel during Achashverosh's time building the temple?
Yeah. Now Achashverosh didn't let them go. Koresh, who preceded Achashverosh, Koresh let the Jews go. And when Achashverosh took over, he didn't stop what they were doing until the sons of Haman wrote to Achashverosh, and then Achashverosh put an end to their efforts. But depending on who this Artach Shasta, if it's Koresh, then it already halted in times of Koresh. If it's Achashverosh, it definitely halted in times of Koresh, and then again in the times of Achashverosh. That's clear. Okay? Boisai, we'll hold it over here. Shkoyach.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.